Now, just because you're busy doesn't mean you got to be stressed. I'm crazy busy right there with you, but it can be easier. Next time you're on a run, just make it more fun and listen to The Run with Manny Wilson. It's The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
Let me get to it. That motivation music. Get control of your life. Don't let nobody else do it.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. So excited to get into it, man. I got great topics here. Talking about the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and Russell Westbrook. It's a slight twist this time. But the Russell Westbrook and the Los Angeles Lakers have found a mutual interest in finding him a new team this offseason. So that means that the Lakers and Russell Westbrook will no longer be in partnership come this offseason. Now, is this a good or bad move? A lot of people ask right off the jump. And if you ask me, I think this is a phenomenal move for both parties, quite honestly. And I'll explain in just a second. So let's jump straight into it. Once again, this is an excellent move, not only for Russell Westbrook, but for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I want to touch on Russell Westbrook first, because a lot of people have been dogging him out, saying he ain't got no trade value no more. He's not a good player no more. He can't do this. He can't do that. Russ is garbage. Russ need to retire. I hear it. I've heard it all. So I just want to explain, Russell Westbrook is still a great player. First and foremost, he's still a great player. I get there's some inconsistency issues. He may not always make the best IQ type of decision on a basketball court, but I get it. He's still a great player. Let's be honest. Let's touch on his trade value first, because a lot of people think he's just not a good asset anymore to any team. I just want to start by saying not every team in the NBA is looking to win a championship. That should be the goal. Don't get me wrong. That should 100% be the goal, but that is not the case in this National Basketball Association. There's about 3 or 4 teams, maybe even more this year because it's a lot more competitive, that actually has their eyes on a championship. But other than that, some teams just want to sell tickets. Some teams need a star. Some teams are just trying to stay afloat, if we're being honest, and keep fans interested. Let's be honest. Think about those trash teams on both conferences sitting at ranking 9 and 10 right now. How do you think they feel mid-season and their record is 17-44 or something like that? Like, come on now, that's terrible. So you can't tell me a team like that wouldn't want a guy that's going to bring some sort of excitement to their organization. That's one of the reasons why his trade value is still there. Also, he has good trade value still because he is still effective on the basketball court. When you look at his numbers and you compare them to his last season in Oklahoma City, it's slightly off, but mainly his points are only down by 0.3, or he was averaging 22 his last year in OKC in 2019. Now he's only averaging 18. The season isn't over. He can still recover on that. His rebounds, he was averaging 10, it looks like, and now he's only averaging 7. His assists was averaging 11. Now he's only averaging 7. So when you look at the numbers, they're slightly different, but mostly by a number of 3. Everything is only decreased by 3. That's it. And that's not a huge deal because, one, the NBA season is not even over yet. It's still time for him to continue to improve on that average when you look at the numbers, and improve by his play, his decision making. All of these things are still factors. So we still have a long season ahead of us. And obviously, according to y'all man LeBron, he said the Lakers are not done. That's his words, not mine. We'll touch on that in a different time period. But that's another reason his trade value is still there. Again, now I get it, because he may have good trade value does not necessarily mean that he's valuable to every team. And I get that. One of the things that has been confirmed to me about him going to different teams is it has to be a team where he's alone. We've witnessed Russell Westbrook for quite some years now. We see that he does his best work when he's by himself. Clearly, when he's played with other stars, and we watched Paul George, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Bradley Beal. We've seen him with all these guys, and it did not turn out amazing. I mean, they didn't really get anything accomplished. And now that he's playing with LeBron, another great star, and Anthony Davis, another great star, Dwight Howard, a future Hall of Famer, all of these guys, we still don't see great results. And I'm not putting all of that blame on Westbrook, But I think this just confirms that clearly he's not the type of guy that can play well with other stars. This honestly confirms it. In the last 4 seasons, he's played with 4 different teams that had a co-star but had no success. That says it all right there. So that tells me that he needs to play by himself somewhere where he can be all or nothing. That's the type of player he is. He's either going to give it everything, give you the triple dubs, give you the assists, give you the rebounds, give you the passing, all of these spectacular plays by himself, or he's not, or he's going to give you inconsistency and not be able to showcase his true talent. Think about his best days that he's had in OKC when he was there by himself. He had Kevin Durant, James Harden. They got to the finals. Don't get me wrong, but that wasn't his best time at OKC. His MVP year, it was just him. Oklahoma City left everybody and they left all the jobs for Russell Westbrook to do. Did he have to do it, or did they request him to do it? No, but that's just the type of player he is. If he's not giving you all of the rebounds, the assists, the points, and everything else, then it's going to result in inconsistency, as we see with the Los Angeles Lakers. They've asked him to just simply play one role, and he struggled. He struggled tremendously. That's what that tells me. So a place for him to go, a landing spot where he could just go be himself, kind of build that trade value back up. And I don't say this too often. I really don't give this team much credit at all, but I think the New York Knicks would actually be a perfect fit for Russell Westbrook this offseason. But hear me out. Only for the factor that, one, he gets to rebuild his trade value. He has an organization, the fan base, the hype around it, and he's still a superstar. New York has been wanting a superstar for I don't know how long now. So all of those are working in Russell Westbrook's favor, because not only is he going to a different team where he can do everything on his own, get you triple dubs, get the rebounds, get the points, all of that stuff, but he also has the hype of a fan base in New York City. If you're an average player, and I just want to explain it, put it in perspective just a little bit more. If you're an average player in Charlotte and you go to the New York Knicks, you turn into a superstar as long as you do your part. You can be average in New York, but they will look at you as a superstar. We've seen this with so many other players. And honestly, you know, the list goes on, but just a couple. And it's no shade. It's no shade when I throw these couple of names out there, by the way. Patrick Ewing, he was a good center, but got a lot of hype because he was in New York. John Stark, great guard, but he got a lot of hype because he was in New York. Larry Hughes, great guard, got a lot of hype because he was in New York. Julius Randle, average type of power forward, got a lot of hype because he's in New York. Now, when you bring a Russell Westbrook there, an MVP, all that hype that goes to an average player increases to a spectacular amount. But that's the kind of thing Russell Westbrook needs at this time when people are questioning his ability to play basketball, his ability to have good trade value, his ability to win games. He can take that organization over at the Knicks and the pieces they have. He can drag them to the playoffs. If he can drag Oklahoma City to the playoffs in the tough Western Conference, he can drag the New York Knicks in the 8th seed and get to the playoffs. And let's be honest, we're talking about the Knicks here. So they don't really care much about winning a championship. They're just grateful. They're not the spoiled Los Angeles Lakers or the spoiled Boston Celtics. They're not those type of organizations. They just want to be in the conversation. They just want to get there. And they're starving for it. So the New York Knicks is definitely one of those organizations that could benefit both ways in terms of Russell Westbrook signing with them. Another organization is not as good as the Knicks, but also the Indiana Pacers. I'm taking this man east because not for a particular reason, but just mainly because it's the better fit for him. Honestly, the Indiana Pacers have similar things. The fan base is starving. They haven't been in a playoffs in I don't know how long. Last kind of hype they've had was Danny Granger and Paul George. It was Victor Oladipo as well, but that only lasted for about a year or two. If Russell Westbrook goes there, blows that house down, it's going to bring all kind of hype. That's the basketball state. Fans been starving. Organization, that's a good organization as well. And if you ask me, the Indiana Pacers are a better organization, like front office wise and everything wise, over the New York Knicks, quite honestly. But those two teams there will allow Russell Westbrook to do his own thing on the court and be able to drag them to the playoffs and get wins and showcase that he still has some skill left in this league, that he still has some trade value, that he's still worth some kind of big bucks, or that he's still worth a franchise being there. It increases the ticket sales, it increases the hype, it increases the fan base, it increases the wins. It's a win-win for both parties. I don't see how either one could fail in this observation or in this thought, honestly. So, and again, just to remind y'all, every team is not built to win. I get it. It's been demonstrated that Russ and other stars are not really gonna win, or Russ is not really gonna win alone either. But if you're talking just wins, you want some money, you want the ticket sales to stay consistent, you want the fan base to stay there, you want people to keep coming to the games, you want endorsements under your brand, go get him. Go get Russ. He'll make sure you get all of that. And at the same time, it's going to help him in return because he's going to get everything that he once had in terms of the endorsements and the respect. Ultimately, he'll get all of that back. So I definitely think those will be amazing landing spots for Russell Westbrook in this trade. And in terms of the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm going to keep it real short and simple. For them parting ways with Russell Westbrook, they just need to dismantle this whole thing they got going on, this whole mess that they got going on. They just kind of need to dismantle it, get some contracts out of there and restart that. Let's build a super team. They need to just restart that. Obviously, you want to keep Bron and AD, but then again, Bron might be gone in the next couple of years because his son is coming in the league. So who knows? But that Laker team, they're going to benefit too because it's going to help them restart this whole process. So ultimately, it's a great move for both teams, and it's good that Russell Westbrook and the Lakers have a mutual interest in finding him a different team to go to this offseason. Now, don't be selfish. You might have a friend, family member, coworker who's on the run too. So make sure they get to have the same amount of fun as you and send them this episode. It's The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
I'm tired of being humble, let me get to it. That motivation music, get control of your life, don't let nobody else do it.